This is Basketball Infinite. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring that bell for notifications, baby. Allen Iverson is an absolute stud muffin. He is one of the greatest players in NBA history and one of the most influential players in NBA history, and arguably the most exciting player to watch of the late 90s and early 2000s. Arguably. But what if I told you that there was a point guard in high school that was ranked above Allen Iverson and who was once compared to Magic Johnson, a guy who was a two-time National Player of the Year and a guy who was the only player to do that until LeBron James. Yet this is a guy that almost no younger NBA fans have heard of. But in the early 90s, this dude was the biggest stud muffin high school basketball player in America. So much so that in his junior year, he was featured on national television on ABC. We are about to watch some of that segment right now. This is the story of Randy Livingston.
When morning breaks on a bayou in the heart of this city, you can understand why they call it the Big Easy. But it's not always so easy going here. Not if you have a dream to make it to the big time, a dream to be the best.
When the game's on the line, I want the ball in his hands.
We're seeing someone who has a presence and an understanding of the game that is rare, very rare.
Who are these accolades for? A 16-year-old high school junior. His name, Randy Livingston.
How good are you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm pretty good right now, but I know there's always somebody out there that's working a little bit harder than I am, so I have to keep striving and just keep working hard to stay at the top.
Are we watching the best basketball player in American high schools?
I think so.
Does he show NBA caliber?
Easily.
He's a 6'4" point guard who averages 26 points a game and is now acclaimed as one of the best high school players in the country by everyone who's anyone in sports.
In the early 90s, Randy Livingston led his high school in Louisiana to 3 consecutive state championships, and he led his team to a 114-15 record. But that's not all. His hype was through the roof, and you are about to see just how insane that hype was.
This is the best thing about playing with Randy.
The way he passes. He makes his passes that Magic Johnson makes that, you think couldn't be possible to make.
He plays with finesse, but he battles inside, and it's hard to stop him. I mean, we have to guard him sometimes in practice, and it's a lot better being on his team, I'll tell you that.
Last year, when he was only a sophomore, Randy led his Newman team to their first state championship in over a decade. Magic is, of course, Magic Johnson, Randy's favorite basketball player, and a man he appears to emulate both on and off the court.
I've been an NBA fan for a long time. I've followed high school prospects for a long time, and the only other player I can remotely think of being compared to Magic Johnson is Ben Simmons and maybe LeBron James. That is it.
I'm not sure if there's a limit to how good Randy can be.
And at the time, there was not a limit to just how good Randy could be. He was the Player of the Year for Louisiana in 1993, and he was the Parade National Player of the Year in 1992 as a junior with Jason Kidd, and in 1993 as a senior with Rasheed Wallace, both future NBA stud muffins. He was the first ever two-time Parade Player of the Year for basketball, and the next player to do it was over a decade later, and that was LeBron James. Randy Livingston and LeBron James. To put things even in more perspective, Livingston actually went to the same high school as Peyton Manning, and I went on an LSU forum to see what fans thought about Randy Livingston during the early 90s because, to be honest, there's not a lot of footage on him, and this is what one commentator said. Peyton Manning was the best QB in the nation, and no one talked about him because Randy Livingston overshadowed him. He was that big time. So, what happened to Randy Livingston after high school? Well, the short answer is injuries. He tore his ACL in July of 1993 and missed what was supposed to be his freshman season. He came back for the 1994-1995 season for LSU, averaging 14 points a game, 9.4 assists a game, and 2.5 steals a game. That's actually really, really good for a first-year starting point guard. But then the next year, he only played 13 games in 1995-1996, shooting just 28.9% from the field and averaging 6.1 points a game and 5.3 assists a game. It was after this that he declared for the 1996 NBA draft, one of the most famous draft classes of all time. But the expectations had pretty much died down by this point. He had talent as a 6'4" point guard, but his team only went a combined 24-32 over 2 seasons, so nobody expected him to really make a name for himself going into the 1996 NBA draft. But then this happened.
With the 42nd pick in the 1996 NBA draft, the Houston Rockets select Randy Livingston of LSU. I made this statement after I was in Chicago at those double sessions. This guy was the smartest point guard there. And it's just a shame with the knee surgery, and I know you can speak firsthand, Rick, because this young man has a great IQ of how this game should be played. But he did drag the leg. Kenny played the 82 games and then played as many games in a week that is necessary.
This young man out of high school would have been someday one of the premier point guards in the NBA. Great vision, and as you said, UB knows how to play the game as well as anybody in the business. What we have to hope for here is that this knee does make a comeback, it gets rehabilitated, gets somehow stronger, because he has the best idea of how to run a ball club probably in this draft.
The history on his knee problems we have talked about. July 4th of 1993, tore his anterior cruciate ligament, and then later he hurt his right kneecap. That was in 1995, and so Randy Livingston oft injured and has a chance now as he goes to the Houston Rockets.
Randy Livingston, the high school point guard, once compared to Magic Johnson on national TV, fell from the spotlight, but he still had an NBA chance. And how did his NBA career go? Well, he's certainly not a household name, but I wouldn't say he failed either. So let's go over his NBA career. In 1997 for the Rockets, he played 64 games, averaging 3.9 points a game and 2.4 assists a game. Then, in 1997-1998, he played for the Atlanta Hawks. Then he played for the Phoenix Suns from 1998 to 2000. During the 2000 season, he played in a career-high 79 games and even started 15 games at the point guard position, averaging 4.8 points a game. He went back and forth between the NBA and the minor leagues during the early 2000s, playing for the Golden State Warriors, the Seattle Sonics, the New Orleans Hornets. He played 4 games for the LA Clippers in 2004. He played 17 games for the Utah Jazz, including starting 4 in 2005. He played for the Chicago Bulls for 5 games in 2006. And then finally, during the 2007 season, he played 4 games for the Seattle Supersonics. Overall, he only played in 45 NBA games between 2000 and 2007, but to his credit, he did appear in every single NBA season from 1997 to 2007, which is a long way from being ranked as the top high school player in the country, but any player who is able to make a 10-year NBA career is impressive. So what happened after the spotlight? Well, he didn't give up his basketball dreams after the NBA. He played in the D-League from 2006 to 2008 and was actually the D-League most valuable player in 2007 after averaging 12 points a game and 10.5 assists a game. And in 2008, with his career winding down, during his final professional season, he won the D-League championship, and here you see him popping the champagne bottles. Holy macaroni. He was a head coach for the same team he played for in the D-League from 2010 to 2012, and after this stint, he moved to Australia where he served as a scout for a little bit, and in 2016, he was voted into the New Orleans Sports Hall of Fame. He spent some time as an assistant coach for LSU before in 2018 returning to his alma mater to coach 7th and 8th grade boys basketball. This went well, and he was eventually promoted to the head coach of the varsity team. One of his current players is Arch Manning, who, if you're a football fan, you might have heard of. He's the nephew of Peyton Manning, and he's considered the top high school football player in America for any class. So, overall, this was a player who was ranked ahead of Allen Iverson. He was an absolute stud muffin in the early 90s, yet here today in 2021, he's not really remembered as great as some of the other great players of that era, but I wanted to tell his story because he's one of the few players, including LeBron James, to ever win 2 high school National Player of the Year awards. Randy Livingston, you're an absolute stud muffin. You were ranked ahead of Allen Iverson in high school, and Iverson had a great NBA career. And maybe you didn't reach the heights of Allen Iverson, but you did last 10 years in the league, and you've seemed to have a successful basketball career overall. Randy Livingston, good on you.